Thank you, Cindy. I want to go over a bit about some of the changes that have taken place on the web recently in the last couple of years, and some of the new techniques we're using to help address what audiences expect nowadays, because things have changed a lot. Just to give a bit of background, what we've seen is we've seen businesses that are entirely online only, a lot of them revolving around business models of delivering rich media. Businesses like Netflix, for example, have really set the bar, so a lot of people are expecting this rich media content anywhere they go. Another major trend we've seen is user-generated content, which has exploded with services like YouTube especially, where people are realizing the web now is a participatory space. It's not just a one-way flow of information, but there's actually a two-way back and forth dialogue between the content producers and the content consumers. As well, social media sites like Facebook and Twitter have really created an expectation for us to have real-time access to information. So anyone in this room who uses those services knows that the moment one of your friends updates their status, you have that information. And this expectation is starting to leak into other businesses. Google, for example, is trying to update their engines quicker. Storefronts like Amazon, and it's just really a matter of time before the rental industry is linked in this real-time way. Just as a side note about how much we're starting to rely on the web, a lot of the desktop applications we use in our offices every day are becoming web-based. And as well, the web is with us everywhere we go now. It's on mobile phones and smartphones especially. So that said, I don't think any of that was surprising to anyone, but my point I wanted to make was that we really have a new situation where consumer demands and expectations are really high, and we need to meet that bar. And I hope that I can provide some techniques for anyone out here who's redesigning their site or developing a new site to have some strategies to meet those expectations in a cost-effective and timely way. First, I want to mention that it's important when you go towards a project to focus on your core content and functionality first, because that's what's really important to your user experience. You want to get those leads, you need to provide people with the information they're coming to your site to look for, and so that should be your starting point on any project. One tip that I like to go through is separating what's critical from what's nice to have. So making a simple checklist and saying, this is what we absolutely need on our website, like rent information, suite details, photographs, the things people use when they're making decisions, versus what's nice to have, like maybe maps of neighborhood amenities. You'll often find that your critical list is very short and you can tackle it quickly. You can then push your website out and monitor things and continue to add features over time. You don't have to do everything up front. Just going to go over a bit of what Cindy said before. Content is so important, especially from an SEO strategy. But now people are finding you through many channels. Your website almost becomes a secondary source of information. A lot of people will find you through paid services like Viewit and GottaRent, or through free services like Kijiji, even through channels like Twitter and Facebook, or if you're posting videos on YouTube. But those channels have a limited amount of information you can convey to people. So it's really important to have your website at the center of your content strategy, where people can go there for more information. And often there's a lot of tools now cropping up, like Brock in the keynote, if you saw it, mentioned how they were integrating with Craigslist, and a lot of content management systems are starting to do that as well. So as you put content into your website, you're often able to stream it to various other channels you use, which cuts down on the time involved in actually putting one of these strategies together. Just want to note, when you're putting your content together, it's really important to be user-centric. A lot of us have a lot of preferences, like what colors we like, or specific designs we enjoy. But it's really important to put yourself in your user's shoes and try to think like they do and put your personal preferences and biases aside. and just understand who you're writing for. It's when if you're building a website yourself, or you're having someone do it for you, find some people who fit your demographic and sit them down in front of it before you go live and just watch them use it and see if they can find their way around and find what they're looking for and if they have a good experience or not, and make changes based on that. Just want to note about user-generated content as well, that if you are engaging in this, some of you might actually open it up on your own websites through comments or forums for your tenants. I know some of you also might be reluctant to do that because things can spiral out of control. But regardless, there are places on the web where people will be talking about you, whether it's on your website or off of your website. So do a Google search for yourself fairly frequently. Check sites like Yelp and Google Places and see what people are saying about your businesses and moderate. A lot of these sources are third party and you can't control them, but you can come in there and help diffuse situations before a comment sits there for a long time and becomes stale and starts influencing people. And while we're on the topic of users, about 80% of Canadians are now online. A lot of media recently like to talk about this idea of a digital divide, that a lot of young people are online, but more mature audiences were not, and that just today is totally unfounded. Basically every demographic is represented in large numbers on the internet, so it doesn't matter who you're targeting, they're there. This is a good channel to reach them. Some of the implications of this, though, is that the fastest growing group of internet users are actually mature audiences and seniors. And as we all get older, I mean, even myself, my eyesight's not what it used to be. And so we need to start considering the usability of our websites. When you're designing websites, use larger fonts. 10 years ago when you went to a website, you'd see this little tiny 10-pixel font, and that was all right because most people online were 18 to 29 years old. But nowadays, you have everyone online, and so you'll notice now that the average website has 16-pixel font, and some of you might not know how big that is, but relatively speaking, that's a 1.5 times increase in the average font size you'll see on websites. And that's because of audiences of aging audiences. As well, that people are using websites on the go, and this changes the way people use things. So be sure to incorporate sharing features in your website, like Cindy talked about, be able to send content through your Facebook or Twitter account, even adding features so they can email listings to themselves or someone they know, because a lot of people actually look for new apartments while they're at work. We monitor our clients' website traffic, and we can tell you that most visitors come between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. on weekdays, so they're at work on their lunch breaks looking for a place to live. When they get home, they might want to show their partner to go over what they found with them. And just while we talk about the new devices becoming available, an important strategy we're using now is called progressive enhancement. And basically all this means is that when you're building a website, build it so that anyone can access your content, regardless of what device they're on. At a base level, no matter what people come to your site on, they should be able to see text and images. Whether it's an old-fashioned phone or a smartphone or even a video game console, we just don't know what people are browsing on anymore. It's become so wide and diverse. And then start to tack on features that target specific types of devices. So you can see here in this screenshot of a client of ours, this is the exact same website. One of them has been built. They both have the same core information at the bottom. You can see there's the same photo there, some of the same content, but we change features depending on what device we're targeting. So on the mobile device, we focused on large touch areas. We reduced some of the content, took out some of the more richer features because people expect a quicker experience. Okay, I'll pass things back to Cindy. Thank you.
It's okay. So the impact of real-time technologies. Real-time technologies. Basically, it just means that everything is a lot faster. This started years ago, but now it's predominantly because of Google Instant. Google Instant Search. You probably noticed that when you type something in now, stuff starts to come up before you're even done typing your whole word or search string. I mean, 3 or 4 letters, stuff starts to come up. Google is trying to intuit what it is that you're looking for. So you see the little magnifying glass on the right to the hyperlinks there. It's a thumbnail that comes up of your site. So we talked about the 18 seconds that you have to make that impression. You now have about 2 seconds. Because if this comes up and it's very cluttered or doesn't seem to be relevant, they're on to the next one. Literally, it's just, that's the motion. They're on to the next one. So it's very, very important, especially your homepage design, because this is what's coming up to people. Also, because things are coming up as people are typing, they're not necessarily using the same search terms as what they used before. So you have to really monitor that carefully, your keywords. If you're using Google AdWords, you have to see what Google is suggesting to people and go from there. See if some of these terms are coming up more frequently. It's also about the real estate on the page, too, in terms of the sponsored ads being at the top. Then you have the organic listings below. It used to be maybe you would go through the whole first page of search results and see if what you wanted was there. But now we kind of assume Google knows what we're looking for, so we're looking at maybe 3 or 4 underneath the sponsored listings, if that. We're not even going, so the top ranking is so, so important now. Ranking in the top 3 for certain terms organically, which is non-paid, is really, really crucial now. So that also affects calls to action, because now some companies are actually suggesting that you put your call to action in your title. Your title isn't just Osgoode Properties anymore. It's Osgoode Properties, Ottawa Apartments to Rent. It's more specific, because if that's all that people are seeing, then that's where you have to put your call to action. Okay, so real time. That also affects ad bidding. When Google Instant first launched, search engine marketing, SEM, was expected to change and change fairly quickly. The cost per click was expected to go up. The click-through rate, when people clicking on the ads, was expected to go down. That hasn't happened to a large degree yet, but it's something that we have to keep an eye on. It's something that, as people get more used to this instant, may change. Real-time content translation. Google Translate, I don't know if you've used this before, but this is a great tool where you can type in paragraphs or a whole document and it will translate it into one of 58 languages. Now, we're not saying the translation is perfect. It's definitely not. But it's, at least a starting point, and it's very easy for people now to go to Google Translate, type in your website, their domain name, www.torontoapartments.com, and from there, they can actually choose which language they want it to be in, and they instantly have it in Spanish, in French, in Cantonese. It's all there. From that, Google developed another application called Google Conversation, which records your speech when you're talking on a smartphone, converts it into text, it translates it, and it sends the audio back to the other speaker. So it's not real time yet. There is still a bit of a few seconds delay as this is happening, but you can actually have a conversation with someone in Mandarin just through speaking English. So this is really going to affect different things, including just perception across the internet, and also, it saves money in terms of translation, and it also gets you out to a wider audience. There's such a diverse base of renters that we have, and now they can view our content in so many different languages. Content distribution network, it's just a system of networks so that your content can be accessed faster. You know how much quicker it is now to load a video than what it used to be. It's so much quicker. And files, the PDFs, the things you can grab, all of that, people expect it to be fast. Okay, and now Nick is going to talk about going mobile.